but it's not. You've got to get practice. You have to have experience. That's the only way to master this, man.
Mm-hmm.
You're different than me. Everyone is different than me. You'll come up with things that are much better.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta, you just gotta get used to this. I don't know what you call it, what, verbal defense? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I would call it verbal jujitsu, man.
Yeah, that's what Bob called it. Was the moral uh, kung fu.
Yeah.
But different than any sale that I've done, man. You know, I do sales and I figure it out and I come up with with great presentations and pitches, and I do it on the fly. It all depends on how it goes. I can always write down some of the great lines that work. I always love good lines, but you're not going to master it through good lines. You
Right.
know, you've got to get your feet wet. You got to take some bumps and bruises. There's just no other way around it. There's no way I could write a script and somebody could read it and flip a cop. It's not going to happen.
Right. Now it's not about the script. I think it's about like a flow chart or even just the philosophy and perspective. I mean,
Look,
you
if
know,
you want to break it down to something like that, when you after you master this, if you want to break it down into something that, curriculum as you put it, feel free, man. Start your own industry. I just want you to learn how to do this and master it. You've got the skills and the talent, man. You just got to hone your skills and, get good at it. Right now, what I've seen through the videos I've seen, you've got a mix. You're peppering what you've been doing for a while with my stuff. And to tell you the truth, I don't like it. You're making my method look bad. You got to start with the moral ground. You cannot let any single threat of violence get past you. If you do, if you ignore the threat of violence, you're done. It's a downhill slope into the cesspool of shit, legal and procedural bullshit. You can't start off with, Freeman stuff or UCC or any of that other stuff. You can do it later. Once you get the commitment to a peaceful resolution, you can talk about whatever you want. But the very first thing with any judge, prosecutor, or cop is to get that peaceful resolution. Put the option on the table, which nobody does. I can't find anybody who does that. Remind them they have discretion and persuade them into choosing the peaceful resolution commitment, and then shake on it or fist bump or elbow bump or spit in your masks or whatever the hell people are doing nowadays. Do something to, get a commitment from them. So can I count on you to work with me toward a peaceful resolution to this? Absolutely. Well, great. Now what do you want to talk about? Because it's pretty much over at that point, right? Once you get a commitment to a peaceful resolution, they got nothing. They've already, I don't know, you can talk about the other stuff if you want to go on and on about common law and stuff like that. But look, man, the goal is to get them to stop threatening you with violence. If they threaten you with violence and you talk about anything other than that threat, you're shooting yourself in the foot. That threat has to be front and center. When you're talking to the judge, front and center. Judge, I've asked you 3 times. Why won't you morally justify? Is it because you can't morally justify it? How's that going to sound to the jury when we get to a jury? How's it going to sound to a civil jury when I sue you for everything you have? No, don't do that. I'm just kidding. I mean, you could do that, but
they'll take that as a threat.
Well, sometimes if they threaten you, it's okay, right? To threaten them back if that's what you have to do. But then I would always follow that up with, but hey, let's not go there. Come on, in your heart you want to choose the peaceful option, don't you? See how that closes them? Imagine being a judge and hearing that.
Right.
Don't think of it as such a big thing to take on. It's not. You're learning. You're doing great, dude. You're getting a lot of. I counted 10 that you went over after the cops let you go. 10 of the phrases that I gave you. I mean, that's amazing, dude. And especially only a couple hours a week for what has it been, 8-9 months now.
No, we've just been talking since January.
killing me, man. I wanted you out there knocking it out of the park, man. That's okay. You got the things going on.
Well, it's easier to learn from someone by emulating and modeling than it is to go and learn by their words. And this is the opportunity that you have, if you go to a different state or whatever, to go record it yourself. I mean, it would be amazing to see the audios or videos from one of the stuff that you're talking about, but without seeing a model, Robert Bannister broke the 4-minute mile and everybody else started breaking the 4-minute mile. So, this is a process that we're all going through. And as you know, most people don't even have courage to talk to the cops or judges. And so I'm actually very proud about what I'm doing, man. I'm standing up for what I believe and doing the best that I can. So if anybody else is out there doing it, feel free. But I haven't seen anybody doing what you're doing. And I think this is cutting edge consciousness right now. I think.
Seen someone do what I'm doing. I watched you on that court. You were trying, you were getting it in there. I mean, no, you haven't mastered it yet, but you got to give yourself some time, some experience. But hey, you're doing it. I mean, I'm proud
Right.
of you.
Right. That's what it is, man. It's just doing it, and yeah, with all things, it takes practice, but um, I thought it was pretty cool to review First Amendment auditors. That was pretty cool because it distinguishes the confrontation nature, and your approach is very anti-confrontational because we're trying to pull them up to moral high ground and pull them up to people how they want to be. They want to be good guys, that's like everybody, but unless they're a psycho, and then it doesn't matter. But let's just say for the most part, there's
Well, the
good
other thing is
dudes.
they want to be seen as good guys. Okay, even the bad ones wanted to appear that they're good.
Mm,
The judges and the evil prosecutors want it to appear that they're trying to help you. Look, I'm doing this for your own good. You know, crap like that. You don't know who the evil ones are. I mean, I even suspect some of the guys that shook my hand and agreed and thanked me were full of shit.
mm.
You know, I don't know for sure. I didn't follow up with them. I wish I had, to see where they're at, because you can't just change someone's paradigm in a 5-10 minute conversation. You can get them to stop using violence, but get them to turn over a new leaf may take a little more time.
Hmm.
I just, you're the guy, man. I think you can knock this out. You're doing really good. I wish you would just make calls. Just call up randomly. Call up some of the leap guys or something. Just practice.
Well, why would
And
I do that when you're not doing that, man?
I'm done, dude. I told you. That's why I'm teaching this to you. I've had enough. I've been cast and hospitalized and beaten up, and I got warrants out for me, and I got people trying to kill me, and I'm done, dude. I'm passing this on to you. You take it whichever direction you want. I just want you to know how far I've taken it, and then you can take it further than this. I'm retired.
Okay. Well, yeah, everyone's looking for something to do for make a difference in the world, and this is a powerful one. But
Look,
you're the most dangerous sales job in the world.
that's what I'm saying. Let's keep it simple, my friend. Look, just put the peaceful option on the table, right? Real simple. And persuade them into taking it. Say things like, wouldn't that make you feel better to choose to talk on? You'd rather be peaceful than be violent, right? You'd be sleep better at night, not punishing peaceful people for disobeying politicians' dictates. The politicians you told me you hated, stuff like that, man. Just, be creative. That's what I do. It just,
Well, yeah. So I mean, it's difficult to ask someone to do something that you're not doing any longer, So like, I'm trying to figure this out, and you've done it, but you're not doing it anymore, apparently. So you know,
I wish I was, man. I do. I want to be out there. Every time I see a cop, man, I'm like, God bless, man. I just want to show him this. Just show it to him and see what he does, Maybe change his life. Maybe turn his whole life around. But I can't, I can't even do that. You have no idea the struggle I'm going through down here, and I don't want it recorded, but I'm just saying that I can't risk that anymore. Yeah, I did it
mhm.
for 10 years, man. That's enough. I'm too old for this crap. And give it to you, the young blood. You'll do fine.
Well, it'll be a matter of time until,
Peaceful option, persuade them into taking the peaceful option, commitment to a peaceful resolution. That's all you need. Real simple. Eye contact and stuff like that, man. You want to really care. You want to really want them to change. You want to win them over to living by their moral principles. It's not that hard to come up with really good lines to persuade them into doing that. I
you know
mean,
what, since you maybe don't feel like you can do it any longer because of the situation you're in, you could probably make phone calls and record it, or like you sent the audio over the other day from the sheriff or something. I mean, that's pretty safe.
well, yeah, we did that. We called the sheriffs. That was fun. We
There's no.
didn't really on the line that we could talk to though. We'd have to make more calls, follow up on the other calls and stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't really need to. I mean, calling cops and talking to them doesn't really do anything to pay the bills. They don't send me money, and I got bills to pay. So
Mhm.
there's nothing for me to call around cops. I don't need the experience. I have plenty of experience talking to them, and it's all like Russian roulette. You don't know what kind of cop you're going to get. I
Mhm.
don't know the next one if he's going to be susceptible or talk, want it or not susceptible, but curious or wanting to know anything, or a faker and evil, just can't wait to beat someone up. And I'm not sticking my neck out there anymore, man. It's not worth my life.
Mhm.
They tear gas and nearly beat me to death. What if they just shoot me dead next time? What about my mom? What about my dog? What about my all my stuff, all my hard drives with all that stuff, evidence on there and stuff? Man, I mean, it'll be over. I can't. And I ask you not to risk your life either, but yeah, hey, you do what you got to do, man. You want to ride around without a license or tag, and that's, you know, people tried talking me out of it. I couldn't be talked out of it either. A friend of mine tried to put one of those tag flipping machines on my car. I said, dude, I don't want it. I don't want a tag. He says, no, then he was worried. He feared for my life. I didn't see that. I saw freedom. I'm a grown man. I don't have to ask permission to drive. I'm not doing it. And look what they did to me.
Mhm. Yeah, it's too bad you didn't have it on camera, or did you have it on camera? What happened?
On camera, everything's recorded, man. I got 6 or 7 hard drives full of videos. I
From their body
document.
cam? From their body cam or from your phone?
Yeah, I've tried getting body cams. I've had excuses from they didn't have them on to they couldn't find the file to they just ain't giving it to me.
Right. Such a scam, dude. They don't even follow through on their promise that, oh yeah, this camera's here to
I
keep cops accountable. It's like, no, it doesn't.
no, just conditions people into obeying more. Geez, they can murder people on camera. We better obey them. But if you
Right.
want to look at the picture, man, I mean, they're trying to exterminate. They look at us like we're scum. That's why I try to reach out to the cops because they treat them the same way. They just have a few more privileges. They can kill the rest of the slaves every now and then, beat them up, chain them up, cage them and stuff. They give the violent people badges. So I mean, the elite and the politicians, they can put a stop to any of this stuff, but they don't. They don't want to. They want chaos. And that's what they're
Right.
giving us.
Right.
This is absolutely chaotic to have armed strangers who have violent tendencies and delusions of authority, terrorizing peaceful people, robbing them blind, stealing half their damn income. And I'm talking about all the taxes, every single one of them. They're all a bunch of theft. I got
Mm.
into it with the lawyers meeting. I have this lawyers meeting on Friday nights, and they were saying that um, the cops. I forgot. I don't know. What was I talking about? Brain fart. Um,
So about the lawyers.
yeah, something happened at that meeting. I was gonna tell you. Let me look at. it's just that a few of the people on there have issues, where the cops raided their home and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, body cam footage.
And no, I was saying that, always remind them that they have discretion, put a peaceful option on the table and stuff like that. And they thought it was ridiculous, because they've been programmed to believe it's impossible to change these guys. They went from the programming of respect the police to the programming of hate every single one of them, no matter what. And I think that's a mistake. I think that's a recipe for bloodbath. You know, and I've seen too many cops that really did have good intentions. I could swear that they did. I mean, if they were all bullshit me, and some people say they are, then I'm wrong. I don't know what to say. But
Mm-hmm.
I've dedicated my life pretty much to trying to get those guys to stop. I remember cops back in the day when they didn't care. As long as you didn't hurt nobody, they didn't care. So I'm not proposing something that hasn't been done before. There when 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, if you weren't, bludgeoning someone, they didn't care what you did. The cops always turn, and they can. I mean, they can walk away from violent crimes. They can commit violent crimes. They certainly can leave peaceful people alone.
Right.
It's just over the last few decades, man, it's just gotten worse and worse. 9/11 made it 10 times worse. Now, you just keep giving them excuses, right? To harass peaceful people. Every time they pass a law or come up with something, it's just another excuse for the cops to use to threaten and harm peaceful people. It's just a shame though, because they don't look at it the way I talk about it, right? When they hear this, they start thinking for themselves. But
Right.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
it
man.
works. Maybe I don't know.
Well, no, they're treating the cops like military now. It's like they've militarized the cops, and so I've seen it in these cops' eyes, man. Like they're debating on what to do, but the training overrides, some of the things that I've been asking. But now I'm just going to focus on the threats of violence because before I was focused on the driver and the traveler, and even in that video when I got released, I eventually went to there, but um anyways, when I gave him my identification, I said, "Yeah, I'm happy to give it to you, but I'm only doing it because you're threatening me, So I can't remember all the details there, but I think that's powerful, man. And did you listen to the audio when I was in court where I said that in the beginning, and again she ignored it, and I said it again, and eventually she gave me the paperwork, which was the Ferretta waiver. It was basically signing the paperwork saying you're petitioning to represent yourself. You got to get permission to represent yourself. And so since I had already filed some paperwork, we just got up and left. And it was very interesting. But yeah, I think we'll see how it goes because I think I got another court date in about a month. So I got to get some other paperwork in. But I'd love to see the letters too, man. You said you might have some letters that you write.
No,
Um,
no, no. I said I would help you write a letter. You want to write a letter? I'll help you write one. I'm not
I'm,
writing letters.
well, what do you mean by editing my letters or by sending me a sample? Or what do you mean? How are you going to help me write a letter?
You want to write one? I'll take a look at it and we'll go over it together and polish it up, and then you can send it to them. I'll do that.
Okay, and just put these words and questions into the written form that we just sent to them.
Write your best letter to try to win them over. Put an option on the table. Try to get a commitment to a peaceful resolution, and I'll go over it and polish it up, and we'll go over it together, and then you can send it off. It'd probably be a great letter, man. You could probably send it, copies to all your fans, and they might be able to use it. Of course, they'd have to tweak it to their own situation, but
Right.
for a basis of a letter, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you
Okay.
want to just call them out like you feel threatened, right? That's what you got to start with.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing this because I feel threatened, and that's what you got to talk about.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you know, back to when you were in court or when you're talking to the judge and she ignored you, then that's the issue,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, I was just wondering how you can morally justify ignoring me, ignoring the question that I've asked you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they may go, what question? Then you say the question again. How can you morally justify threatening me, a peaceful person, with violence?
Mm-hmm.
And then say,
Right.
oh, well, I never threatened you with violence. Well, if I don't show up, what are you going to do? And you get them to say what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to say, you know, well, I have to issue a warrant, blah, blah, blah. And say, okay, well, sending strangers with guns to drag me back here in chains, um, if that's the punishment for not showing up, exactly how is that not violent?
Mm-hmm.
And again, back to the original question, I'm a peaceful person. How can you morally justify threatening me with violence? And like I said, you know, a lot of the Mark Stevens stuff that I did was to screw up their paperwork. Excuse me. Um, you know, because the paperwork's got to look good, but they could never pin me down. The problem with doing it that way is that they just kept coming at me with more stuff and adding more things, psychological evaluations and shit like that. It just was horrible.
Mm.
Whereas that they can't get their paperwork straight. They can't get out of it either, right? And if
Right.
they threaten more, you call them on it. Say, well, geez, I was just addressing the threat of violence that you issued earlier, and now you've added another threat of violence toward a peaceful person. I'm just wondering how you can morally justify this.
Right. Right. And then you said something also in the message that was powerful, which was you just talked to them as if the jury was in the room already.
Oh, I talk to cops like that as if I have them on a witness stand. When
Mm-hmm.
I formulate my questions, it's just as if there's a jury listening to them because and then I imagine how the jury would feel about what just happened. And I do that all the time because, and I tell them too. And I say, well, if you're on a witness stand in front of a jury and I ask you that question, what would you tell the jury? It helps
Mm-hmm.
me, you know, come up with stuff because you got to be creative. It's not, I don't have a script. I have no
It's
idea
not
what I'm going to.
no, it's a script. No, what more than a script, you have a perspective, you have a philosophy, you have principles, which I think is probably part of your sales background and your peace background. And so you kind of have a direction, you know, you have a very clear understanding of morality, and you know, you have words and vocabulary words and understandings to get you to the end. So I don't think it is a script, but it is a philosophy. It's you know, some principles. And so maybe I'll deduce some of these things so I can, you know, teach it to other people and say, here's principle, you know, here's the 5 principles of talking down a, you know, delusional psychopath who believes they have authority over you, and or, you know, delusional plus somebody who's, you know, is a nice guy, you know, that's doing their job and they never thought about morality. But yeah, I agree with keep it simple, smarty. And you know, it's like it can seem complicated because I'm just going into uncharted territory, but I'm starting to see more of it. And you know, I've been so programmed throughout my life with schools and everything like that, and even other sales stuff. But this is an entirely different game. This is we're not trying to get money. We're trying to have them choose good things to do right, to you know, break their training. So yeah, there's not going to be a script, I think, but probably like a
I got
formula
one
or
for,
like a
I
general
got one
template.
for, I got
Mhm.
one for you. Look, if you had a good friend or a family member that you cared about and they were acting up crazy, threatening people and stuff like that, right? Would you go up to them, beat them up, chain them up, lock them in a cage? No. You go up to them and you're like, "Come on, man, why are you acting like this, man? Don't do that. I mean, you're upsetting all the people. People are getting scared of you, man. I care about you. You
Mhm.
know, let's talk about this." Just that approach is pretty similar to what I do. It's like, hey,
Right.
man, come on, you don't want to do that, man. You don't want to punish peaceful people for disobedience. Why would you want to do that, man? How do you
Mhm.
sleep well at night knowing that you've harmed someone who's done no harm? I mean, you just keep coming up with these things when you come at it from that angle.
Right.
You know, to be creative and come up with things that just appeal to. Don't beg them. I don't want you to beg them. I want you to just be like, hey man, you're better than this. I know you can be better than this. And no matter what you've done in the past, you can be better than this. And I'm trying to help you out. And yeah, I've had cops walk away because they don't want to look at that. They start guilt tripping and they get mad at me. But at least they walked away, right? I mean,
Right.
I'll count that as a win. I mean, if you aggravated a judge enough into dropping the charges, I'd pat you on the back.
Right. Well, that, I
And,
mean,
yeah,
this whole, you go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's very interesting, the idea of writing letters to the judge, because then that would be almost a non-confrontational way to bring up their violence and almost have them save face. Because when I'm calling them out in court, it's in front of the public defenders, the DA, the police. I mean, they're like in the middle of the spotlight, and they're a little bit, I think, kind of rushed, or what do you say, flustered. But
Oh,
if I send a letter, that might
please.
give them more time to kind of think about their response, or think about what they're getting in the ring to do. Because if I don't participate, I don't think they can force me through, can they? I mean, I think they could force me to a public defender, but if I'm there objecting and not consenting, I don't know what will happen. But I guess they can just railroad you and force you. Like, I had one judge, say, okay, well, you have to, guilty or not guilty, no contest. I said, I'm here to declare my innocence, and so he says, oh, well, that qualifies as a not guilty plea. It's
What was
like,
the question?
it was, the question was, okay, Mr. Rodriguez, how are you going to plead today? And I said, she says, guilty, not guilty, or no contest. I said, I'm here to declare my innocence. And
No,
okay, so what would you
I,
say?
I,
Let's role play. Sorry, Mr.
I,
Landon, you're here to address these charges. And so how are you going to plead today? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
well, I would choose option number 4, which I'd ask you to leave a peaceful person alone. Fair enough.
Mr. Landon, we're not able to do that. That's not an option. You only have 3 options. So what's it going to be today?
I'll leave peaceful people alone. Is someone threatening you with violence too?
No, nobody's threatening me, but we have to uphold the law, and you have these complaints from the DA that you're here to address the matter, and we thank you that you show up today, and you're addressing it. So we just have to proceed with our rules of procedure, and that is to get a plea, and then you'll go to pre-trial, and everything's going to be upheld and by law and due process and everything. You're going to be treated fairly and justly. But how did you want to plead today?
Well, can I ask you a question?
Okay, go ahead.
You have discretion, correct?
Well, not now. The DA is wanting to press charges, and so as the judge in the matter, I'll facilitate that, and then you'll get a fair trial if you want to go to trial.
So are you confessing that you are unable to leave peaceful people alone, that you must threaten them with violence? Is that true?
I'm not threatening you with violence.
Well, you said if I don't show up here, you'd send men with guns to cage me and drag me in here. What part of that's not violent?
Yeah. Right. So you just got to keep going. And
Well, look, I also look at these questions, David, as a way to put it on the record. Imagine a jury listening to those answers from the judge. It's ridiculous, right?
Right.
And the guy's just asking you to choose a peaceful option. What's the problem? I mean, I could go on. I could say, are you going to continue to use rules as an excuse to threaten and harm peaceful people? Does that make you feel good or bad?
Right.
Because I want them to answer, and I don't care what the answer is, because I'm willing to go to the jury with those answers. Everything's being recorded. Everything's on the record. It's beautiful. It's even better than being out there with the cop, with your camera. Hopefully your camera's working.
Right.
Hopefully the audio comes in clear. But man, when you're in court, man, it's all very clear. And it's all very documented. And I'm
Right.
not going to, you can keep being the judge and keep trying to get me to play your game, but I'm not going to do it. I'll even say that. I'll say, look, I see you're trying to get me to play this game. All right. But I should be asking you a simple question. All right. And if you can't answer that question, what qualifies you to be a judge?
Mm-hmm. And that
I mean,
question is,
how do you
but
morally justify threatening a peaceful person with violence to force them to obey you?
right.
I mean, are you supposed to protect peaceful people from violent people? Or have you
Mm,
turned into one of the violent people? I'm curious.
mm, that's powerful. Right. Aren't you supposed to protect peaceful people from violent people? Or have you turned into a violent person harming peaceful people? Wow. That's great, dude.
I mean, I hope you're going to, go back to protecting peaceful people. And I just wanted to ask you what you can do right now to protect me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're
Yeah.
front of the judge, right, you're the prosecutors making these claims, these charges, and you can get into the no injured party and stuff like that if you want to. And it's like you're supposed to be fair, neutral, and ask that first. Aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Are you fair, neutral, and impartial? Is that what you do? You're completely impartial, right, Judge? I don't say judge, I say their name,
Yeah.
right, Mr. So and so.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to be. I'm asking you, right? You're supposed to be fair, neutral, and impartial, right?
Right.
And then the judge, or whatever, says yes. Then you say, "Well, I'm just wondering why you're threatening me with violence on behalf of the prosecution. Does that mean you'll do that for me too, to be fair? Will you threaten the prosecutor with violence on my behalf?" You know,
Yeah. A lot of.
you're
Mm-hmm.
exposing their scam. Go ahead.
Right. You know, a lot of times the judge is like the prosecutor. You know, as we know, they're both working together, but like the DA is allegedly the one who filed the complaint, but it's like the judge who's forcing the issue of getting a plea or proceeding with the process. But that was a great one, man. You know, asking, aren't you supposed to protect peaceful people from violent people, or did you become one of the violent people harming peaceful people? I mean, that is amazing. So
Well, then you
so
got
what.
to fall. You can't end it like that. You're going to say, "Did you become one of the violent people?" Which I would hope you have not. And I'm waiting for you to do something to show me that you're going to protect me from any violence. Fair enough.
Hmm.
Stuff like that. You want to throw that out there and keep them. Don't obey them. Every time they okay, well, we're not going to deal with that. We're moving on. Now I need your plea. What is it going to be? And I say, well, I would participate if I wasn't being threatened with violence by you and the prosecutor.
Hmm.
But I cannot morally justify answering your questions until you answer mine.
Hmm.
Geez, I've done no harm. I'm wondering how you guys can morally justify threatening to harm me. In
Hmm.
fact, you've been harming me. The threats have harmed me ever since they started.
Right.
And I'm asking you if you have the power to stop these threats of violence against me. And just keep doing that, man. Don't anything they say doesn't matter to me. I completely ignored. I had one prosecutor get up and read from a giant book for 5 or 10 minutes. I don't know. He wouldn't shut up.
Hmm.
And at the end of the judge says, "Well, there's your evidence." And I was like, "Really? Is my name in that book?"
Hmm.
Now that was
Right.
challenging jurisdiction is a little different, but it's the same concept here.
Right.
I'm not going to give in to whatever they're doing because they're
Right.
trying to entrap me. Every word out of their mouth is trying to entrap you.
Hmm.
They're trying to
Right.
get your consent. And if you start participating, consent is assumed, jurisdiction is assumed. They
Hmm.
assume that you condone all of it. You encourage them to violently victimize other peaceful people. It's horrible when you participate in their shit system.
Right.
That's why I won't do it. I won't do it, man. Unless they clarify their threat of violence. Okay, I will do it if they're going to directly hurt me. They're, oh, absolutely, I'm gonna lock you in a cage if you don't do this. Okay, under threat, duress, and coercion, I will do it. Now tell me what I have to say next.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a script for me? Oh, I'll be a smartass through the whole thing.
Yeah, because I think I have pre-trial in a month for one of my cases, and I don't even know what that is. So um, I got to do some research and figure it out. But even during the pre-trial, you're just gonna stick the guns about peace and violence, right?
Yeah, man. You're sitting there, you didn't hurt anybody, and all these people are trying to hurt you.
Right.
I I would demand an answer. I'm not doing a damn thing until you guys can morally justify harming peaceful people. I ain't doing shit. Or you
Mm-hmm.
can threaten me with violence. Again, you're going to add to the list of threats of violence against me. You got to
Mm-hmm.
remember, when they ask people to sign a guilty plea, the judge says, has anyone threatened you or put you under duress or coerced you? Yeah, you, the prosecutor, the bailiffs, pretty much everybody in this room.
Right.
And I'm sick of you guys threatening me with violence. Why don't you go find violent people to cage up? Why are you trying to cage up peaceful people? I want to
Right.
know for the record why, how you can morally justify threatening, robbing, and caging and brutalizing and killing peaceful people. I might go off if I ever get in that situation because I am really sick and tired of the bullshit.
Well, this is a delicate dance because if we get too angry with them, right, they can threaten contempt charges. So it's like we got to stay super calm and like I'm like whispering and I'm like trying to, come on, I know you're a good person, but the politicians make these codes that you guys enforce and you're harming people and you don't want to do that.
Right. Unless they want to do it, then they expose themselves as the evil bastards that they are. And it's on the record.
Yeah.
Now you can use that evidence with the jury. Say, listen to this. You have the transcript and just read it. You know, I offered them a peaceful resolution and they continued to use law as an excuse to threaten and harm me.
Right.
I mean, they're politicians' opinions called laws, right? I mean, they're dictates because no one consented, no one asked for consent. No one came up to me and said, "Hey, do you consent to all these laws?" No, I would never do that anyway. Why would I do that?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you consent to something that includes violent and financial punishment for disobeying dictates? I'm not going to agree to that. Oh, you want me to agree to not murder anybody? Hey, I'll agree to that one. Oh, you want me to
Right.
agree to not rob anybody? I'll agree to that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You want me to agree to have a tag on my sticker on my car? No, I don't agree to that. You want to agree to have permission to drive and pay for it every year, a few years? No, I'm not going to agree to that. Why would I agree to violence against me if I don't get a stupid sticker? That's ridiculous. Imagine trying to do that to a neighbor. Go get a pack of stickers, go to your neighbors and say, look, you got to put this on your car. If not, I'm going to take your car and put you in a cage. They think you're freaking nuts.
Right.
Well, that's what these people are. They're freaking nuts.
Yeah, they are.
That's what I mean. You can't sell them not sell them. You can't tell them what to do. You can't tell them the laws or whatever. They don't care. But if you ask questions and they have to answer them or they ignore them, ignoring the question is an answer, by the way. It's telling to everyone who, well, why did the judge not answer them? Geez, it was a fair question. You could tell that to the jury. Here's a fair question I asked the judge, and this is the response. Here's a fair question I asked the prosecutor, and here was their response.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them absolutely determined to use politicians' dictates as an excuse to harm a peaceful person. When I thought they were supposed to protect peaceful people from violent people, and now they're acting as the violent people. I mean, I'll tell a jury.
Right.
See, that's their downfalls. They let you have a jury. That's where you get them. And I told that jury I was in front of, I said, you got more power than the prosecutor and judge put together. That makes them feel good. So you can do the right thing. and stop them from doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But usually it shouldn't even go to a jury, man. You should be able to get them right away. They may recuse themselves and you end up with a new judge, but then you just do the same thing all over again.
Mm-hmm.
But look, I'm only here because I'm being threatened with violence by so-and-so, whoever the person is that's threatening you. Always find out who's threatening you. That's when I had to deal with the IRS. It was like, okay, the IRS isn't after me. One person wrote this letter. I found out who wrote it. I called up and talked to the person that wrote that letter, and I spent an hour, 20, 30 minutes talking to her. And I think she quit her job because
Mm-hmm.
she understood. She got it. And that was like 5, 6 years ago. I think she burned my file too. I regret not asking her to do so.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I'd gotten that in there. I won't forget next time. And it works with anybody, just all you're simply doing is saying, look, there's always a peaceful option. So now, which peaceful option did you want to take? Just leaving me alone, or did you want to hang out and chat for a little while? That would be
Right.
to a cop.
Yeah, we basically it's like a way of life, I think, dude. I think using it to talk to any cops, like I think one of my friends told me she got a she got a ticket and then she went and talked to the guy. I can't remember the details of it, but it was like, how do you justify what you're doing here, And the cop kind of walked off, but then some other guy came up to her and was like, "Hey, I'll help you fight that or something." Anyways, I was proud because she was a kind of a shy lady, but she's been listening to some of our calls, you and I, and she understands that she has to talk with these guys and not like, hate them behind their backs, but go actually and confront them directly and have them justify what they're doing. So, part of the real work is just the courage, right? So part of it is the script, part of it is the bravery and the balls to get up and talk with these guys because, like we said before, even cops are afraid of cops, like they know it's a gang and they feel safe when they're in the uniform and the badge, but when they're in their street clothes, they know it's like shit, dude. I don't want to mess with those guys, man. Like, dang, that's a bunch of like mean guys, and I'm a part of that.
And just remember to put morally in front of justify, because they can legally justify all kinds of evil. So
Right.
don't just say, how do you justify that? Say, how do you morally justify that?
Yeah, morally justify that.
And don't ever forget morally, because if you say justify, hey, how can you justify that? Well, it's the law. Yeah, that's what you're
Mm-hmm.
going to get. So you want to say, how do you morally justify it?
Mm-hmm.
And I've got, well, people's morals are subjective. You can't go by people's morals. Well, I don't care about other people. I only care
Mm-hmm.
about your moral justification. What would you say on the witness stand when I ask you how you can morally justify? What are you going to tell the jury?
Mm.
Would you rather resolve this peacefully and leave me alone and we both go on without any threats of violence? Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
The other what was the other part? You say cops are afraid of cops.
Yeah.
Um, you know, cops, they the fear that you talk about though is it's not that they fear for their lives, right? It's that they fear losing their job when they're dealing
Yeah.
with other cops.
Yeah.
They don't want to lose their income. And that's where I had tripped up when I first started this, because I was getting cops that were to quit their jobs. My whole pitch was to get them to quit. And then some people say, well, they're going to replace them with younger, more asinine cops, So I said, okay, well, what do I
Mm-hmm.
like about them? I like that they go after robbers and rapists and murderers and child
Mm-hmm.
molesters, like that. So let's keep the good, get rid of the bad. So as long as they're protecting peaceful people and going after violent people, I support them 100%. But when they start threatening, intimidating, provoking, brutalizing, caging, killing people just for disobedience, that's where the problem starts. I can't morally justify supporting anyone doing those kind of things.
Right.
No, the cops have a choice. They have discretion. They can be a good person, you know. Being a good cop means that you terrorize people, but being a good person means you're a cop who leaves peaceful people alone.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could get out there, man. I really do. I'm trying to teach you this so you can go out there and do it. You'll be great at it, man. You'll be great at it. And like I said, find them where they're hanging out. You know, catch them at breakfast. You see a bunch of cop cars at Denny's pull in and, you know, maybe offer to buy them breakfast or something. I thought of doing that many, many times, you know, because living in hotels, and I'm like, I see cops in there and I'm like, oh man, I want to go over there so bad. Not to make fools of them, not to prove them wrong, but to wake them up, you know, to get them to realize that they can't morally justify their job
Right.
and to
I
put them
think
on a path where they feel good about what they do every day, you know. And then when somebody spits on them or treats them like shit, they say, hey, listen, I don't mess with peaceful people. I only go after violent people, right? Then they have a way to defend themselves against the cop haters. Say, I understand you hating cops, you know, but I'm not one of those. I am actually a good person.
mm-hmm.
And I'm speaking to those guys. I hope they listen. You know, I want them to wake up and start doing the right thing. And not turning in the bad cops, but trying to win them over too. You know, the bad guys who are cops, the guys who get off on doing evil shit. And if you get a whole police department or sheriff's department and most of the people are peaceful police, then they can push out the strongholds that are really just get off on tormenting people, which is really cowardly, right? I mean, if you really want to torture human beings, go after the violent ones and the rapists and the murderers and child molesters, right? Go
Right.
torture them. I don't care what you do with them, but you don't. You go around and screw with people for disobeying dictates. You
Right.
go around terrorizing people and forcing them to pay and obey like slaves. You yourself has to get a tag and license and ask permission and pay all these taxes to fill the pockets of the politicians who control all of us. How about you change everything and start protecting peaceful people from the politicians? Would that make you feel better?
Right.
They're great conversations. It's just they're all different. I can't write a script. Dude, if I wrote down everything I said to every cop, it would be volumes. Nobody would read it
How can you say no one would read it, man?
because it's too much.
What, aren't people sick of this, dude? People are sick of this. This is why Dale Brown is getting a lot of media, because people are sick of the violence, man. Like, I don't think you understand how important what you're talking about is.
I'm saying is put the option on the table, persuade them into taking it, get a peaceful resolution, and be done with it. That's
No,
pretty simple.
you're saying if you write stuff, people aren't going to read it, and
You know, if I wrote down all my, dude, I've been doing this for 10 years, man. I could fill a room full of books. Who's going to read a room full of books?
it doesn't matter. You don't think anybody's going to read it?
I don't
How
know.
about how about how about
I
one book,
sent,
man?
and people didn't read it, so I don't know.
Well, a sales professional with 30% close is pretty good, So if you write 10 things and they only read 3 of it, that's pretty phenomenal. I mean,
Well, man,
if you really think that this is a solution, who cares if people don't read it, dude? Don't you feel like you have a moral obligation to get it out to the world?
yeah, I know. That's what I'm doing.
No, you're not.
I got
Well, you through me, yes, conversation, yeah, we are. But anyways,
they
man, just
brought
something to
out
think
to the
about,
world.
man. Something to think about, man. Like, I would read it. I've written down some of the phrases, as you can tell, and I put them into action. And I think there's a lot of people. I think there's a great opportunity with the First Amendment auditors, um, because if they hear some of the stories that you're able to help cops understand the violent nature of their job, and the fact they have discretion, the fact there's a peaceful outcome. I mean, this is like groundbreaking stuff, man. This is earth shaking stuff. and I think people would be very interested in it. So anyway, something to think about writing the phrases or whatever it is, or maybe it is. Maybe I'll write it. Maybe I'll deduce stuff from our interviews and write it up myself.
I said we'll do a letter. You write up a letter to the judge, and I'll go over it with you, and we'll make it kick-ass. And you send a copy to the prosecutor and the cop and whoever else you can send it to. Hand them out when you go to court or whatever, if it's live, if you're actually in the courthouse. You know, I mean, this letter is going to put them on the spot. Now, mostly they'll try to ignore it. So you actually have to, when you go to court, or if they don't drop it off the letter and they demand you go to court, you do that. I'm here under threat of violence. I mean, you can even start with, you know, I just wondering what would happen if I didn't show up today, right? And get that on the record. Oh, well, I'd have to issue a warrant for your arrest. Well, exactly what does that mean? Well, we're going to have the sheriff's department, we'll go out and blah, 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 right? You know, and get up to describe it as the violence that it is.
Right.
And then you come up later and say, you know, how can you morally justify threatening me with violence? I didn't threaten you with violence. Well, you told me earlier that you'd have strangers with guns cage me up as if I was a rabid animal. Well, part of that's not violent. You know, there's different ways of starting it out. You always want to like get the questions out, get it down on the record, get their answers. You know, like, in fact, you should do that next time you have court. I'll give you a list of questions. We'll do this when we do the letter, after we do the letter, and then I'll show you how you can set them up with the questions, and keep them to their answers as you move on. Because every time you ask, like, you know, do you believe you can morally justify threatening a peaceful person with violence? You know, the judge would be like, well, probably not, no, or something like that. Oh, great, okay. You know, and then ask other questions. Say, well, if somebody didn't harm anyone, how could you morally justify harming them? And you go on from there. You get all their answers, and then you start hitting them with the peaceful option and pushing them toward the peaceful option, right? Or persuading them to take the peaceful option. And when I say persuading, I mean, don't just say, why don't you take the peaceful option? Say, wouldn't taking the peaceful option make you feel better? That's the way of saying it in a persuasive way. You know, you're not just making statements. You're asking questions. You're trying to say something, follow up with a question that persuades them into taking it. And why wouldn't they? And you know, I mean, if they don't, right, they're just admitting that they're a violent asshole. I don't know how else to say it, because if somebody said, hey, there's a peaceful option, no matter what was going on, I'd be like, hey, that sounds good to me. But if I didn't take the peaceful option, right, I would be the aggressor. I would be the asshole. Right. It's the same with them.
And they just use the law to justify it. Hey, I'm not doing it. It's the law that's doing it.
I haven't seen the law do anything. I've seen people use law as an excuse, but the law itself, I've never seen it move. Not even twitch.
Right.
Don't tell me the law this, that. And then you get into the law too. I've talked to cops many times about how many laws are there. I think we've done this one before. No, there's thousands, millions. I said, yeah, there's city, county, state, federal, international. They even use laws as an excuse from other countries to punish peaceful people here. Do you agree with that? Well, no. Right. Well, why would you agree with the politicians' opinions as an excuse? And it makes their life more simple and clear, right? I mean, once a cop hears this, it's like, okay, this is someone's hurt or harmed or going to be harmed, I'll help. No, none of this, I can't wait to get my quota up there, or cage up so many people, or raise so much money, or, you know, all that'll be gone. What drives them now. Now, look, you know, again, maybe it's impossible. Maybe some of my critics are right. Maybe the cops are too far gone. But hey, if you could save one or two of them, wouldn't it be worth it? Right. I mean, think of all their future victims you saved. I mean, I'm willing to pitch 100 cops if I could just get 10 of them to leave peaceful people alone. Yeah. Doesn't have to change the world. Just change their worlds.
Right. We definitely have to talk with them. Um, and they are having recruiting problems. I don't know if you heard, you know, pe people are not liking cops, so people aren't joining the force. I say the good people aren't joining them, but maybe some other immoral people might be.
Well, I think probably most wanted to do it, had good intentions. I think maybe most.
Yep.
Might be 50-50. I don't know. But most of the ones I've talked to give me the impression that they had good intentions coming into the job,
Hmm.
right? But then they go through training and then they got to fit into the cliques that they join. And they're all pumped up about how many tickets they wrote, how many people they shit cages, and how many people they beat up. And, they get caught up in all the like, hey, like those cops after they beat up that 73-year-old woman, they got audio from inside the jail. Did you see that?
I didn't.
Oh, the cops were like high-fiving and laughing after they broke the arm of a 73-year-old woman with dementia.
Is that
And
is that because she had a gun?
no, she just forgot to pay for some stuff at Walmart, $13 worth of stuff, and then they caught her and she gave the stuff back and she tried to walk home and the cop pulled her over, pulled up behind her and she's walking and he just she couldn't listen. She said, I'm going home, I'm going home. She had dementia. And he just beat the crap right out of her and broke her arm, shoved her face in the dirt, threw her up against the car, pushed her against the car, broke her arm again, dislocated her shoulder,
Oh my
and
gosh.
broke her wrist too, I think. 73 years old.
Jeez.
He quit, of course, and the other cop that was there, I guess they quit. And they I mean, it's absolute insanity to let people go around with these delusions of authority and guns. They're like, oh, we got to get rid of the guns. They say, well, if you got rid of the guns from people who had delusions of authority, who thought they were, had a moral right to threaten and harm peaceful people, I'm okay with that. I don't think
Hmm.
they should be harmed. Why would you give someone like that a gun? Imagine your neighbor thinks he owns you and you got to do everything he says. Would you want him having a gun?
Right.
Because it's the same damn thing. It's just some neighbor, who's got a badge on who thinks it's okay to harm people. I don't want them having guns. But the rest of people leave them alone if they've done no harm. But geez, man, they've been confiscating guns for years. They
Hmm.
call it felony. They made everything a felony so they can disarm us,
Right.
disarm the people by calling everything a damn felony. They write a
Hmm.
bad check, it's a felony. Disobey a cop, it's a felony. Everything. That way they can take their guns away.
Hmm.
They don't have to go door to door. They just go person to person.
Right. Use the legal system.
Well, yeah, I mean, how many laws? They don't know how many laws there are. They don't even know what the laws are. Even if
Right.
they name a law, I say, go ahead and tell me what that law says exactly. Oh, yeah, I can't do that. I'm not a lawyer. I say, yeah, I don't know any lawyers who can do it either.
Hmm.
I know lawyers that have their secretaries or legal assistants or whatever they're called now look it up, and then they got to read it and try to come up with a opinion of what it says, right? The interpretation, because it's written in legalese. And then they take their interpretation into court where the prosecutor has their interpretation, judge probably has his own, and then they debate the interpretations of this scribbling that nobody ever agreed to. I mean, the whole thing's a damn
Hmm.
crazy ass joke. I mean, oh, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Name one person who knows the laws. I'd like to meet this person because I don't think it exists. I don't think there's one person that knows all the laws. I don't think it's possible.
Right. There's
Pick
too
up the
many.
laws you're being charged with. Read through the law that you're being charged with and tell me if you can make heads or tails of that gibberish.
Right. Total legalese, non sequitur information.
Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to know the law, but the judge and the prosecutor and the cop don't even know what the laws are.
Right.
All those
What?
laws are, all those scribblings are there so that they can target people and they know that they can come up with something. It doesn't matter. That guy wrote a book, 3 felonies a day. Those are just federal felonies. You've seen that Silverstein
book. Have you seen that?
I've
Three
seen the
felonies.
title. Yeah.
Yeah. He proves that everyone commits three federal felonies a day. That doesn't even local, city, county, state. That's just federal, right? So you got a bunch of people, peaceful people, walking around who have violated probably dozens of
Hmm.
laws every day. And all you got to do is run into one of their enforcers or one of their snitches, and they will find something on you. Like in the movie, right? The cop goes into the shop and tries to get the shop owner to give him information. It says, if you don't, I will have every government agency come in here and rip you apart.
Hmm.
That's true. That they can do that to you. That's disgusting. That they can rip someone's life apart, a peaceful person, a peaceful business owner, just to extract information out of them.
Hmm.
But they do that to all of us. If a cop doesn't like you, if you say something they don't like, they'll arrest you and they'll make up something. They don't care. They don't get hurt. There's no punishment for making up something.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, if you want to fight them on their turf, good luck with that. I really do hope you win, but I wouldn't even bother. I think it's a complete waste of time.
What do you mean fight them on their turf?
Try to use their laws to stop them. Try to use their rules, participate in their system, and think you're going to get justice or fairness. I mean, it's insanity. You go pay a lawyer $20,000, and all you did was support their system. All you did was support the bar. That no matter what lawyer you get paid or public defender, they are controlled by the judge. The judge and the prosecutor both control your lawyer because they will have them disbarred if they ask the questions that need to be asked. Right? A
The,
lawyer isn't going to ask a judge to morally justify threatening a peaceful person with violence. The judge will have him disbarred. He'll
the
lose his
judge,
livelihood.
the judge has that much power over the attorney?
Yeah, man. Any attorney, lawyer, whatever you get, they're under the control of the judge. And they're all bar members, which is a conflict of interest. The prosecutor, the judge, and your lawyer all belong to the bar, and all could be disbarred if they don't do what they're told, if they don't follow the protocol. Right? And the whole system is based on getting you processed without any appealable errors. And that's what that lawyer, I don't care if you pay him $100,000, unless you get a judge that bribes, or you get a lawyer that bribes the judge, lawyers are useless. But then even bribing them is theft, right? I mean, let's say you could bribe a judge 10 grand to drop the whole thing. You're out 10 grand and you didn't even hurt nobody.
Right.
You still lose. Even when you get them to go against the system, you lose. So the best thing is to not get involved in their system at all. I would never file a motion. I would never participate. I would never object to anything. I did that. I probably objected 200 times when I went through court. Objection, objection, objection. But look at me. I was just playing their game. I was giving them the illusion of jurisdiction. I was letting them think they owned me.
I mean, what are you going to do though, man? I mean, for example, I showed up in court because the lady said, if you don't show up, we're going to give you a bench warrant. I said, okay. So I brought that up the next day. I mean, we're literally participating under threat, duress, and coercion. So, if I don't show up, then they're going to put a bench warrant out, and then they're going to come, throw me in a cage, and I got to sleep in a concrete, bed or a concrete cell for a night. So,
Right. When
they're
she says bench,
they're forcing me to participate in it.
all right, but when she says bench warrant, you got to ask, what does that mean?
Well, I
Ask
asked
them.
her. I did, and
What do you,
she says, we'll send the police out to get you. And I said, oh, so you send the police to throw me into a concrete cell and chain me up? And I said something like, that sounds like violence to me, something like that.
well, yeah, you're close. You say, okay, so you're going to send armed strangers with the intent of chaining me up and dragging me out, put me in a cage, and dragging me down here and strip searching me and locking me in another cage. And I was just wondering which part of that isn't violent.
Mhm.
I mean, even if you participate with the whole scenario, right? The threat of violence is there.
Right.
And if there's a threat of violence on their record, it screws up their paperwork. They
Mhm.
can't get processed without any appealable errors if you're being threatened with violence. So you got, okay, say this. Let's say you're in court and someone else is threatening you with violence, some stranger, some guy, right? And you tell the court, say, well, look, I'm only here because this guy is threatening me with violence. He said he'll lock me in a cage if I don't show up here. And they'll be
Mhm.
like, well, who is this person? You know, it's some guy, some neighbor of mine down the street. You don't
Mhm.
think they would send the cops to go pick up this guy, right? For threatening you with violence, to force you to say stuff to them. So that's all you're doing. You're just saying, yeah, someone's threatening me with violence. I don't know what to do about it. You could even use that approach. Say, you know, so and so, whatever the name is of the judge. Say, look, someone is threatening me with violence, and I was wondering if you had uh, the authority to stop that person from threatening me with violence. It'd be like, well, who is it? Well, you're threatening me with violence, and I'd like you to stop. So
Mhm.
what are you going to do to stop you from threatening me with violence? Dude, I can't say violence enough in court to a judge. It just, I mean, it's just nothing but threats of violence. It's absolute bullshit. They can't morally justify it. They can't make their paperwork look good. You know, they can't process you, right? All they can do is ring in a jury, and then you can really clap your hands and be excited, because, you know, then you can really stand and get the jury to stop them,
Mhm.
power the jury to stop them from continuing to threaten you with violence. And you may have to address things like, oh my God, that means none of the laws apply. They get that fear, right? You're saying
Right.
none of the law, we can just shut down all the prisons and all the courts and blah. They go overboard, right?
Well.
It's like, look, if there's violent people, I don't care what they do. Okay, look, let's put it this way. Let's say a judge had a rapist that they got video and everything. Evidence is overwhelming. This guy is a serial rapist. You're telling me that you couldn't lock that crazy bastard up in a cage unless there was a law? Seriously?
Right.
You know, that's what most people go to. Oh, well, without the cops, it'd be chaos. Everyone would just be. You're telling me no one would defend themselves. No one would defend other people. Everyone would just sit back and let the marauders rob and rape and kill everybody. You watch too much TV, too many movies, my friend. That's
Mhm.
not how life works. You know,
Right.
I like that Little House on the Prairie story. You know, she lived like that. You know, there was no government, no cops, no judges, no nothing. They just made a little community and lived peacefully among each other. And if some crazy asshole did something, they tied him up and chained him up and did what they had to do to stop the violence. But that, how rare is that? It's
Mhm.
not very often, other than the ones with badges that do that and get away with it. So yeah, I mean, just because there was no cops doesn't mean no one's going to do anything, but that's the way they think. And it's something that's got to be addressed when you're dealing with cops, prosecutors, and judges. Once they realize what you're saying, you know, what their answers are leading them to is what's really happening, then they start getting scared. Oh my God, the whole system's going to collapse. It's like, I don't care.
Mhm.
Let it collapse. Are you kidding me? I mean, if you don't have faith in people, how in the hell can you have faith in politicians?
Right.
I haven't met anybody who likes politicians. All the cops I talk to hate them. You know, it's like, and they don't just dislike them; they really hate them. You know, there's a lot of hatred for politicians and what all the crap that
Mhm.
they get away to pull off. And it's like, geez, it's so easy. How easy of a decision is that? Okay, huh? Well, I could be peaceful with a peaceful person, or I could use a politician's dictate as an excuse to threaten and harm and rob peaceful people. Which one
Mhm.
would make me feel better? I'll tell you, most of the cops I talked to felt like leaving me alone was a better idea, you know, made them feel better.
Mhm.
And now if you're going to deal with the judge, be the same thing. You know, just be aware that what you're saying, the questions you're asking, is going to bring out a lot of fear in that judge. It's just another person, this judge. It's nothing special, you know? The robe, the dress doesn't matter. The position doesn't matter. It's just another human being who's got a lot of delusions of authority in their head, who believe what they're doing protects everybody and keeps everyone safe and brings justice to the world. And they have all this built up in them. But when they start answering questions about how do you morally justify it, it blows those delusions up, right? They get that cognitive dissonance. They get upset. They get angry.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some judges get pretty pretty pissed off, with the jurisdiction thing. Because if there's no evidence of jurisdiction, it blows out their whole ideal of the court. They think the whole court system is going to fail because no prosecutor can prove that any of the laws apply to anybody. So then what will we do? Well, you keep doing what you're doing. Keep locking up the violent people. Just leave the peaceful people alone. It's real simple, right? There's no harm done, do no harm. You've heard that before?
Oh yeah.
Well, that's what you got to, sometimes you got to just tell them straight out. I mean, why would you not want to choose that? I mean, this isn't about tripping them up and getting them to do something stupid and say something stupid. I don't want them saying something stupid. I don't want them putting their foot in their mouth, because then you can't get it out. Then they stick to it, right? They fight all the way. I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. So the biggest thing, you just don't want them to say something that's going to commit them to choosing violence.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to say, you want their answers to be toward leaving peaceful people alone and feeling good about it. You want to be reaching out and trying to help. That's what I do. I try to help them, man. That's why I was so surprised at the way they've treated me. It's like, man, I'm on your side, man. I'm trying to help you guys out. Twice they attacked me. It was just horrible. It just blew me out of the water. Now, granted, I think back at it, and it's like, well, my moral approach didn't fail. They never gave me the chance. They were already predetermined to kick my ass. It's kind of like getting mugged. Every now and then, I think people who are being mugged are able to, talk the guy out of it. Why don't you turn your life around? Stuff like that. I've even seen stories about that, where this one woman took in this guy who burglarized her house, and she took him in and helped him out. Changed his life around. But most of the time, right, you just got to do what you're told so you can live to tell the story, or live another day. You don't want to stick your neck out too far. I mean, how are you going to help people if you're in there just shoving it down their throat, and then one day you come across a cop who just says, screw these guys? And you don't know what's going through their head. They may have pulled over a guy with no tag the day before or earlier that day, who treated him like shit, and they arrested him and they spit on him. Who knows? Now you're the second or third guy, and he's just tired of these no tag wearing guys, right? And just looking for an excuse, going to say something to trip you up, to escalate the violence. Or who knows, he may just come up and shoot you. You never know. Shoot, put a little gun in your hand that they carry in their ankle holster with no serial numbers on it. A lot of cops do that. They just, shoot you dead, put the little gun in your hand and say you pulled a gun on them. And he'll get away with it. So you're dealing with very dangerous people. So I worry about your safety, my friend. And I'm actually sorry I did it. I mean, my mom worried about me. All my friends were worried about me, and I was all cocky, like, I don't care. I'm not going to be a slave. I'm not getting a license. Screw that. Yeah, well, got to think of the people around you sometimes. But it doesn't shut me up. Like I was telling you before, when I went to the DMV, there was like 30 people in there. I had a whole audience, and I couldn't even stop talking about how I'm here under threat of violence. I'm not here. They're not here to protect us. And even the cop behind the counter, the people working there were applauding. They loved it. It really frees people's minds.
Well, then this is what's interesting now is that we got to find creative ways to market the idea, so like whether it's going to talk to cops directly or having like a public forum I want to raise the conversation to this. And, on a side note, I'm talking with somebody about um donating or being the benefactor for a prize to show that the average person needs a driver's license, right? Like, so, like the difference between driver and traveler and these things is actually in the law. You have a right to travel. So a lot of people don't know that. So um thinking about how to raise the conversation publicly, if there was a $10,000 reward or $50,000 reward or even more, we can donate that to your favorite charity if you can show us the law, which requires average person to have a driver's license. So if there was some type of kind of marketing campaign or something, we have to raise it in terms of marketing and something to go viral where people are excited about it and they would share it freely and say, oh my gosh, this is really cool. And I don't know what that is yet, but um, I think we got to use our creative imagination to find ways to tap into the human conscious, because we're on the right side of history, man. We're doing what's right. And just like I was reading earlier yesterday, that psychedelic mushrooms and even like MDMA, these things are now getting a lot of traction in the research world, like John Hopkins University and an organization called MAPS. They got like $44 million in funding to do research on psychedelics. And so that's really amazing. It's taken 40 years to get there. But the point is that finally, the society or free market is putting money where solutions might be. And that is, psychedelics can be very therapeutic and non-addictive. So how can we bring the moral approach, the moral conversation to the marketplace in a way that, gets attention and is humanizing for the cops, right? We don't want to be anti-cops. I don't think we want to, say defund the police, but we want to say, hey man, if you guys are going to protect us against rapists, murderers, and thieves, we're with you, man. We're with you. That's great. That's such a really beautiful thing to say because it's true. But when you start using violence against peaceful people, that's where you lose us, So I don't know how we can elevate that conversation, but I think it's very, very exciting to know that, we can speak basics about morality and be doing good. The cops and the judge are wrong. If they're using violence up against peaceful people, they are wrong. So I don't know what the solution is, but I'd love to find a way to bring that to the marketplace and raise that conversation, whether it's like a campaign, a challenge. But the problem with the challenge is like video recording it. So whenever you pull a video camera out in front of cops, they get real slippery or real like nervous. So how do you have a secret hidden camera and have candid conversations with cops? I'd be interested. I don't know if you know of any hidden cameras or
Well, I
Julia.
told you I used to have this camera that I would hold in my hand. It looked like a vape.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Sony action cam. And I used to do it without them knowing, but then I started letting them know.
Mm-hmm.
I got out because one time they had walked up on me so fast that when I got out of the car, he was right in front of me, So I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
time to start the camera. So I'm hitting the button trying to get the camera to start, and he's looking at me. I said, could you hold on a second? I just want to document this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he was fine with it. And I tried to record him, but the damn camera wouldn't work. This piece of junk. I don't know what happened. It was old. I had dropped it a few times. It was the back door came open, and it just all you guys has to do is open just a little bit, and it stops recording. I'm sure the newer ones are better. This is an old version, but I would let them know. I'd rather them know they're being recorded. This is being documented, so when they give their answers, it's on the record. So that way, if they have evil intentions, they at least have to say something that looks good, right? They don't want to sound like an evil bastard, which my questions make them sound like evil bastards, especially if they don't answer, if they ignore it. And I push that they answer the question. The more they don't answer it, the worse they look. But
Mm-hmm.
recording them without them knowing, that's fine. But to me, I'd rather give them a chance to choose peaceful option and live by their moral principles than document them being an asshole and not doing it. You know, I'd rather win them over. Buddy, sorry, a lot of people are and Buddy's losing his mind. Here, bud. Here, come get this. So, yeah, it's okay either way. I don't have a problem with it. I would like to have these conversations with more cops. You know, like, you know, I'm more of a person that's got to be like right there in front of you. You know, I tried video and phone and stuff, and it's just not the same. I like standing there and looking them right in the blacks of their eyes. You know, really communicating with that other soul and trying to win them over. That's what really gets me. You know, the Zoom thing, I tried it with Lopez and stuff, and it's just not the same. You know, you're trying to look in the camera, you're trying to look in their eyes. You can't really see their eyes because, you know, the picture's so small, or at least for me. But yeah, if I got out of here, I would be glad to hit the streets and start winning these guys over. Not for the video footage, just to win them over. You
Well,
know,
that's where we got it's video. Well, win them over, but no, we have to make a video, man. This is why I'm recording, because once we record this, now we can pass it along to other people. You know, if you and I and, you know, just go out and flip the cops and we have a great time high five and chest bump each other, that's fun for us. But that video could be watched by 10,000 people, 50,000 people, you know, 150, 100,000 people. Like, so I think it's very important to understand we're playing a media game here. This is part of the game, whether we like it or not. So for us to be, you know, disregarding the power of media and say, I don't care about the video. No, I want the video. This is, you know, if I could have recorded the video in court, I would have done video, but they won't even let you text on your phone in court. So I had to do a, you know, an audio clip. And it's like, I have a right to record, man. The First Amendment is not in effect. You know, did you guys swear an oath? And it's a whole nother conversation, but you know, one good video, dude, it'll be like the opposite effect of Rodney King. You know, like Rodney King was beat on video by bad guys, but if we can get a video of cops admitting that they can't justify what they're doing, or, you know, where cops, you know what, you're right, man, I do have discretion. I am going to just, you know, use my discernment and just let you go in peace. You know, thanks for teaching me, man. You know what, I'm going to rethink my life. I'm going to rethink my career. You know, I'm just going to use peace with people now. I'm not going to follow the politicians' dictates. You know, if we can get a video like that, dude, oh my gosh, dude, that will shock the planet. So I'm really eager to get one of those videos, but I don't know how to do it without using a hidden camera.
I would like to get a video of a cop giving a testimony to his experience with the moral approach. I don't care who does it. You know, if there's a lot of people that I've tried training. I mean, let's say Dale Brown gets a video of him talking to a cop, and the cop, buddy, yeah, sorry, dog's getting crazy. And the cop comes out and does a video, right? To like a testimonial. Like, hey, I thought this way. I talked to Dale Brown, and now I'm thinking this way, right? That would be even better than just catching this conversation and winning them over. Because like I said, the conversation can go a number of different ways. I never know what I'm going to really say until I see what I'm up against. I wish there was a script. There really isn't. There's just a lot of good points that I try to make. You know, a lot of good questions that need to be asked. You know, like, how do you morally justify trying to be supportive of violence? I mean, that's a standard question that needs to be asked.
Right.
Go ahead and talk. I gotta get this dog untangled.
No, man, I'm wrapping up, man. It's been 90 minutes. If anyone else wants to ask some questions, I think we might have Julia on here. But you know, this is great, man. It's we got to put it into practice and apply it, try it, you know. So this is what he was talking about earlier. Julia was just, he's like, I can't write a script, but I think what we can deduce is a general formula, a general kind of flow chart of basics, keep it simple, smarty, and like 3 landmark points we're trying to get. Like baseball, there's 3 bases and home. I think we should probably have something like that, 3 bases and home, where it's like, okay, get to agree to a peaceful resolution, and you get to morally justify what you're doing, and I know you're a good guy. It's the politicians dictates, and then come around back on home and let them know that they have discretion. So
Well,
maybe those are,
I say I assume you're a good person. I never say I know they're a good person. I just say I assume you're a good person. You had good intentions, right? When you became a cop, right? When you took the job, you had good intentions, correct? See
Mhm.
how I'm trying to persuade them into saying, yes, I did. I want to get them up there on moral high ground, right? And I need to do that by using these questions to pull them up, because they can show me their evil side at any time.
Mhm.
I don't want to guy. I want to talk to the guy that's friendly with his neighbors and stuff. That guy, the guy that celebrates Christmas and stuff with their family and shit. I don't want to
Mhm.
talk to the guy who punishes people for disobedience.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that guy never comes back up again when I'm done talking to him.
Right.
At least that's my goal. I mean, yeah, you want to get it on video. That's great. I want to get you on video doing it too.
Well, I think I need a hidden camera, man. What do you think?
Try it. If you want to hide the camera, that's fine. But where are you going to hide it? I mean, you can get that Sony Action Cam. I just keep it in my hand. No one ever noticed. I think one time some guy said, "Is that a camera in your hand?" You know, I said, "Yeah, it's a camera." These were cops up in North Carolina, like 5 of them. One of them, as they're walking away, mad at the
Mhm.
first cop for not arresting me for not having a license tag or insurance. And the one
Mhm.
cop was like, "Camera?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You're putting it on YouTube?" I said, "No, I just document, in case something goes wrong." Now, yeah, I got to get to all those files. I had one hard drive crash on me, but I'm sure I have plenty of footage. I just don't have the time to sit there and go through hours of this stuff. I'm very busy, man. I wish I did have the time. Someday I will, but I would rather make a new video. Like when we were calling the cops there. If we could have got one of them to do a Zoom, or, I mean, if I leave here, I'll be happy to go out and go out and do this. But I think you could do it better. I really do. Why not go, find cops sitting in a restaurant somewhere and go up there and you don't have to pay for their meal or anything. Just say, "Excuse me, can I ask you guys a few questions?" Tell them you're with Peaceful Police and you just wanted to ask a few questions for your audience, and just ask them these questions. Only 4 or 5 questions. It ain't that much.
Mhm.
I'll write down the questions for you. I think we should work on your letter. I think that'll be epic. I think that'll help a lot of people. So, when's your court date?
I think in maybe 3 or 4 weeks. I got to take a look here. It's hard to keep track of what I got going on here, but I'll let you
Right.
know. Maybe, yeah, maybe in the next week or two, I can get that letter done, and I'll send it over. You can take a look at it, and if you have any edits, feel free to let me know. And other than that, man, yeah, let's keep chatting, and we'll keep doing this Monday, and then we'll see how this evolves. And but I think if more people can learn the basics, um, then we have a chance, to talk with these cops. So
Well, let me see your ID.
yes, exactly. Well, I'd love to provide that to you, sir. I just it would violate my moral principles, and that's not something you want to do, is it?
I think you
Give me
could
a
do
couple.
something like this too, where you say, "Yeah, I will give you that information. Can I just ask you some questions first?" And then, you go down the line of saying, "I'd be willing. I just need to know how much violence you're willing to do to me in order to get this information from me before I'm willing to hand it over." Something along those
Mhm.
lines.
See, that's a good point. You could do that. You could do it this way too. You could say, "Look, I'll make a deal with you. I'll be glad to show you the driver's license if you can morally justify threatening peaceful people with violence." Fair enough. You
Exactly.
know, you you ask them, tell them, say, look, I'll give it to you if you give me this.
Right.
Yeah, you morally justify threatening me, a peaceful person, with violence, and I'll get down there and lick your boots. Fair enough.
Oh,
I mean, you have to hold that mirror up to them and show them that the violence that they're willing to commit in order to get their way. And
right.
you know, a peaceful person will see that and say, okay, I'm not gonna, you know, not today. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot easier to deal with, you know, one or two cops at the side of the road than having to deal with this in court, where you know
Mm-hmm.
they have everybody around them is on their side. So
Right.
Yeah, that's why I stopped helping people in court and started helping people talk to the cops, because it was too much stress in court. It was too hard on them. You know, I said, well, let's just stop it at the cop. And it's the best way to do it. You know, even if they just get frustrated with your question and walk away, I don't care, as long as they walk away. But like I said, like the advanced class would be how to win them over, how to get them to change their life. I think right now we just ought to focus on getting them to make a peaceful resolution to that instance, to get them to leave you alone at that point. I think that's what we ought to lead with. If people want
right,
to learn how to like have a half hour, 45-minute conversation with the cop to actually win them over and learn all the therapy type psychological things that I do to win them over, that's fine. But right now, people are getting locked up. Right now, people are being threatened. Peaceful people are being chained, caged, beat up, killed right now. There's
Mm-hmm.
peaceful people in prison right now. They never hurt anybody, and they're suffering, and their family and their friends are suffering. I mean, there's got to be something we can do quickly to get this, get the ball rolling.
Right.
My problem is I've made it so complicated because I'm like, oh man, it would take you hours to learn all this. You have to know all the psychology, blah, blah. Nah, let's narrow it down to the simple piece. What do you do? I guess you got to have a good intro, right? You got to really try to talk to that person, get them to talk as a person. You got to establish that they have discretion, and then you got to put the peaceful option on the table, and then you got to win them, persuade them into choosing the peaceful option, and then getting a commitment to a peaceful resolution. What is that, like 5 or 6 steps? It's pretty
Yeah.
much pretty simple, right?
Yeah. Just like all new things, just takes some practice and some visual, some audio, some text.
Auditors, these auditors would be good. Those guys that go out there and film the police stations and stuff.
Well, that's the idea, is that I have a connection with at least one of them, maybe two of them, who has a lot of followers. So if he saw a different method that was successful, I think he would try it. But he's out there confronting cops and calling them pieces of trash, and saying you're violating your oath and stuff. And so that's not winning the cops. That's animosity. Now, he does great videos and is very unbelievable. These cops are failing, right, in their oaths and stuff, but that's not educating them. We literally have to become the educators, man. Like some of the people who come up and talk to me, they're the cops. They're like, oh yeah, I saw your videos. I'm like, what? Because the cops are the audience. There's probably cops listening and watching on my text list, like my direct text list. They're learning. And I don't know if you saw that one video of Pablo unslaved, but at the end of that 30-minute encounter, at the end of the side of the road, the cop says, hey, can you email me some information about this? And he was talking about the right to travel, and I don't have to have a license, blah blah. Yeah. So it's like the cops are learning and watching the videos, right? Because it's really entertaining to watch. And especially if you're a cop, you want to know what's out there. You want to see what the marketplace is doing. So it would be good to have a protocol or a formula for the First Amendment auditors. So then when we contact the First Amendment auditors, we're not like, hey man, we got this idea we're working on. Say, hey, here's a formula, here is a how-to solution that's worked, and this is the flow of it. And kind of show it that way. But anyways, this takes time. This takes some effort and thought and energy. So you know, since you have the knowledge, you know, I'd invite you to consider doing that. Or maybe you've already written it down or something in some of your writings, but simple is definitely better than more complicated if possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can teach the longer version, but I think right now what would help people who are cracking their windows and getting their skulls cracked could save those people from that kind of harm,
Right.
right? Because cracking your window and doing all the mumbo jumbo stuff doesn't go very far. Yeah, it might win over a cop on occasion, which I actually think is horrible. It's a tragedy because it encourages people to keep doing that and more people get hurt,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas I'm like, just use this, just really reach out to them, tell them you support them, tell them you're there for them, say, the moral justification, try to get the moral justification, put the peaceful option on the table. As they
Mm-hmm.
answer these questions, they're learning stuff. They're learning that, wow, this seems so much easier than what they told me to do.
Right.
Training told them to punish peaceful people for disobedience, and you're sitting here and they can't morally justify their training.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to support them, say, man, I support you being a peaceful police or
Mm-hmm.
peaceful sheriff or deputy or whatever it is.
Right.
I support you then. I can't support you if you're going to threaten peaceful people with violence. So you understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they do. And just about every cop, in fact, every cop that's actually talked to me has loved this. A few of them just said, okay, I got you, and walked away. They're a little upset, but that was at the beginning. The more I did it, the better I got at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just felt empowered. Like, yeah, you're right, man. I never thought of it that way. It's very
Mm-hmm.
cool when that moment happens. It's very cool.
Right.
And I'd like to do it again if we can. I mean, that's why I said let's make some calls and I'll try and see. Maybe we shouldn't call sheriffs. Maybe we should call cops. Is there a way to
Well,
get cops on the phone?
cops just have no power though, man. They're like the city guys, you know? They're literally like security officers for the corporations, I think, man. Like this is why they come down to Trader Joe's or whatever.
No, so people can hear how I win them over. Instead of sheriffs, we can try to get cops. I know I've heard of cops that are out there doing YouTube videos and stuff. Maybe we should approach them
Mm-hmm.
and do a video. So
I think they have like a front desk or something like that, so you could try reaching that, and when you call the non-emergency number, that's usually staff, like if you walk into a police station, they have some sort of a front desk, so to speak, where some cop is sitting doing desk duty.
Mm-hmm.
And you can reach them on the phone too, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk to them. Like I said, instead of shooting for the sheriff, let's just talk to anyone, right? And see if we can't win them over right over the phone. But again, I would like to get them to do a Zoom video so people can see their face, their expression. I don't know if you saw the Joe Lopez video, but I like that when he leaned back and smiled, his eyes rolled up. He's like, yeah, you got me on that one. I'm not trying to get you, man. I'm just trying to get you to understand. I'm not trying to embarrass anybody. I want them to seriously understand what I'm talking about. I mean, look at it this way. You're a cop. You've been trained to do this. You've been punishing people all the time. Then you run into me. And you can't morally justify anything that you've done. You got some choices, right? I mean, you can be a complete evil prick and beat me up. That's a choice. You can use law as an excuse to chain me up. There's another choice. You can be peaceful with another peaceful person. Now, which choice do you think would make you feel the best?
Right.
Or which choice would make you feel better about yourself?
I love that one. Right.
Right?
Yeah, because I'm sure they're not feeling good about themselves because they're a cop, man.
Well, yeah, man, it's got to be a crazy, shitty job to be delusional and have to listen to peaceful people beg for their lives every day. It's got to ride on your psyche.
Absolutely.
It's got to turn you into something really nasty.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they got the highest rate of alcoholism and drug abuse and child abuse and spousal abuse and suicide and murder suicide. That's why I think,
Yeah.
because they got to listen to peaceful people beg for their lives. They got to do this every day as a job. And the only way to convince themselves to keep doing it is to drink and beat their wife and kill themselves.
Right. Yeah, there's no logic to it, so they have to numb themselves.
Yeah. I mean, barring the percentage who are just downright evil people, right? I'm sure there's a percentage that are just downright evil, and like the ones that beat me up and stuff.
Mhm.
Those guys had no soul, no moral principles. They didn't care.
They're just happy to
They
go
were
beat up somebody.
right. They're just gangbangers. Hey, it made me want to give up. I wanted to hate them. If anyone's got reasons to hate the cops, it's me. Holy
Right.
hell. They've raided my home. They've chained and caged me up a dozen times. They chained up and caged my dog.
Mhm.
They tear gassed me and beat me nearly to death. You think I'd get up and go, cops are all pigs. I hate them all. They want me to be like that. They want me to hate them. They love it.
Mhm.
Hating them doesn't stop those evil bastards. Those evil bastards, it fuels their
Mhm.
fire.
Right.
They wouldn't beat you up and treat people like shit if they didn't get off on it.
Mhm.
But then I always think about the cops who appreciated what I said and thanked me. And here
Mhm.
I am back doing it again, though safely over the phone and Zoom. I'm not out there in person. I'm not going to put myself at physical risk anymore.
Right. Yeah.
We'll get them, man. We just
Little by
gotta
little, man. Exactly,
practice.
man. Exactly, man. Little by little, one conversation at a time. And we'll get some videos. We'll figure out a way to get some videos of it, and it's gonna be beautiful, man. And it already has been. Thanks for teaching some of these things and being a courageous man out there. So we got to talk about morality, and we're doing what's right. We're doing what's good. We're letting peaceful people go in peace and not initiating violence against them. And so we're gonna help these guys waken to this fact. And so, well, cool,
Yeah,
man.
if you
Well,
know,
anything else before we wrap up? Yeah.
just if you know any cops, send them my way. Or if you know anybody that's got court dates or anybody that wants to learn how to stop cops, I can't do this enough.
Right.
I love helping people. I love people being able to have these tools to win these cops over, or at least get the cops to leave them alone. If that's all you do, that's fine with me. If you can get the cop to stop hurting you, that's one safe, peaceful person. But if you can get a cop to stop hurting all peaceful people, you're making a huge difference in the world.
Right.
If we can get these cops to go peaceful, that would be great. That would be my dream. If I could just get one sheriff's department or a police station, whatever, and they all committed to being peaceful police, wow. You talk about a video. That would
Right.
be amazing. Just to get them to commit to peaceful policing, man, would be the gold ring, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Well, keep trying. Hopefully we can find them.
Yep.
Send people
Yep.
my way. The more people out there doing this, the better chances we get of making a big change.
I agree. Yeah, man. We'll start getting some of the principles out there and then keep it simple, smarty, and hopefully activate a lot of people to start talking with their local cops and sheriffs about actual morality instead of legal dictates from politicians who could care less about what's happening in the neighborhood, the community.
Hey, do cops? I've never looked into this, but on these social networks, do they interact at all? I remember years ago they had this police one thing going on.
I think they do. I think there's some participation. They put their propaganda out there, but yeah,
No,
I
I mean,
think
do
there
they
is.
interact with people on some of their posts somewhere?
Not that I know of.
I was thinking that would be a good thing to do. We'll find one of the police Facebook pages or something, and where the cops are actually talking and answering questions. But I've never seen that before. I haven't really looked for it. But I thought that would be a good way to get started. I could put these questions to them. I used to do this with the politicians. running for sheriff, the sheriffs. I'd go on their Facebook page when they were campaigning and give them all kinds of crap.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to get a bunch of sheriffs to. The only one I could get was Joe Lopez. I was working a dozen sheriffs at the time, trying to get them to do a Zoom video. So Lopez was the only one that would agree to do it.
Yeah, that was a great video.
I was surprised he did it. I
Yeah.
really was.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, I got to get going here. So let's wrap it up here, and we'll see you next Monday, Morality Monday. And yeah, maybe we'll go over some of the principles and think about how to keep it simple, Smarty. I know you have 30 principles or 30 ideas, but yeah, maybe we'll get it down to 4 or 5 of them.
Well, I got 30 steps to winning cops over, but I think there's only 6 steps to get them to leave you alone.
Yeah, well, maybe you can present that next week, and we can go over those 6 steps.
Well, what about doing your letter? Let's write your letter sometime soon. Then you can release it right away.
Yeah, maybe I can. I don't know if I can get my letter done by Monday. I know I can get it done in 2 weeks, but I got some other things I got to get done this week. So okay, we'll figure out the content for next Monday. And
write a letter, send it to me, and then we'll just schedule a time to go over it. I'll do some corrections and we'll polish it up. It shouldn't take that long. Just tell the judge how you feel.
Right.
Come on. I'll try to win her over. It'll be good experience for you to write the letter. Come on, man. I know you want to do it.
Well, I do. I just have other priorities because I don't have to go to court for another month, so I have other things I got to deal with.
Yeah, sooner it'll help other people.
Dude, I got a ticket the other day for $76 for not having plates, a parking ticket for not having plates. Dude, are you kidding me?
You got a parking ticket?
Yeah, it's happened twice, actually. They actually cited me $76 for not having plates. That was the fine. Vehicle code 5200. And it's like, oh, I got to respond. I got to have a letter respond with these guys, So yeah, it's getting very interesting. So I'm gonna, anyways, talking about elevating the conversation about travel stuff. It's out of control, dude. It's absolute police state right now, man. These guys are sick parasites, leeches, taking our life force, and it's not acceptable, man. So anyways, I got to do some of that stuff this week.
I get the letter, man. Don't wait till the last minute to write the letter to the judge. You want the judge to have the letter yesterday.
Right. And that's a good point.
I want some copies to the prosecutor and the other one, and we'll have follow-up letters. We're going to work them. We're going to try to get them. We'll put them on the spot and get them to choose a peaceful option.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll have something you can release to your fans, and that'll help them too. Maybe they'll copy a version of the letter and use it in their case, or apply what's in the letter to talking to the cops, and just let this thing snowball. I think we ought to get the letter done right away. Get it out of the way. It shouldn't take you that long, mate. You can probably knock it out in 20 minutes. Send me what you got. I'll go over it. Probably take me another 20 minutes. And we'll see what the result looks like. What's the name of the judge that you have to deal with?
Judge Christine Garcia Sin.
That sounds encouraging.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. Anything else other than that? Thanks for joining us, Robert and Julia, and anyone else who watches this later. And yeah, we'll be here, same place next week, 9 a.m. Pacific time on Monday, Morality Monday, helping to talk to cops and authority figures who are delusional and think they have authority over us, and help them realize that they're the ones using violence against peaceful people, and it is no longer acceptable, and humanity is awakening to what's going on. And so thanks for being here, everybody, and we'll see you next week. You guys have a great week. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care.
You too, man. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, David.
You bet.